Hey everyone, Kyle once again. Welcome back to the next episode review and back to reviewing another new series. Now, I was going to review of the series of Lazarus, which I saw the first episode and I enjoyed it. It looks very fun, and I thought it was, being in the kind of like being the spiritual successor to Cowboy Bebop, which I enjoy. But then I stopped though because I saw this other episode that came out on the same day, also on Sunday. It's a film called Kowloon Generic Romance. Now, it has some it's sci-fi. It's a romance, but also sci-fi elements into it as well. Because it looks like because from the look of it, looks like it's supposed to take place in a dystopian type future, but but it's like everything. It's like humanity just rebuild everything. But I was intrigued by it after I saw the ending of this first episode. I'm like, I think I'll review this instead of Lazarus because, Lazarus, it's action, sci-fi, and all that stuff, right? Which I enjoy though, but I got intrigued by the mystery of this, and so I think I'll decide to review this instead of Lazarus. So I was thinking, okay, because first of all, the backgrounds, the animation, I thought was well done, slick and clean, I would say. The characters are two main characters of if I always get her. I always tend to get first characters wrong, but eventually I learned to say it right later on though. But Jirari, I think, but I'll get it right eventually. And the guy Kudo. So it's now how the way they set up this future looks like. First we have this weird looking triangle shaped thing hovering in the sky, and all the buildings are acceptably built right on top of each other. We do see a wide shot of all all these buildings are like all in one, right? But so I'm thinking, okay, did humanity fall, and then with this thing did it help rebuild everything, and did it save humanity, or I don't know. It's just like it must have, because one of the things at the end of the episode, we see our girl sitting in this tea house, and then it cuts to, because it looks everything fine, right? But then it cuts to a shot where everything was all crumbled and in ruin. So did everything basically went to shit before everything got put back together? I have no idea. So, but part of that mystery though ties in with our character here. So, but with our main character, Jirari, I'll get her name eventually, like I say. And so she works in real estate with her coworker Kudo, and they're just, and I think it was nice with the back and forth they have with each other. They go and try. Kodo has her try these different places, and especially this when it comes to this tea house. And earlier he was talking about nostalgia, right? How this whole place feels nostalgic, right? And it makes me happy because all the old walls and the alleys and stuff like that, it all feels nostalgia to me. But so he's taking around the places, and including this tea house they go to, and there's the bartender there. So they're talking, and as soon as they leave, the bartender goes and says, "Hey, it's nice that the Kudo brought back his girlfriend." And at first she looks at the guy, it's like, what? Must be mistaken, because he mentioned earlier about quirks, right? Because because she likes watermelon, right? So she mentions, "Oh, do you think smoking is not watermelon tastes better after you had a smoke?" Right? Because they both smoke. So, but she says that, and he's like, "Well, it's nice. There's a person I know that kind of like said the same thing. The same almost like the same quirks." And so then she has a pause moment where he's sitting there smoking. And she's like, I had a nostalgic moment. And after they leave, that's when the bartender says, "Hey, look, he brought back his old girlfriend." And she looks at him, what? She must be referring to that. What she thought that he was referring to the previous person he thought was before. and then afterwards, it's just like she's painting the place, and she kind of feels dizzy because it's hot in there. So he catches her. He comes in, he catches her, and he kind of like almost has a pause moment too, another pause moment. And then later the next day, when she goes back to work, and he's sleeping on the couch, tells him to get up, but she leans in closer, and he grabs. I don't think he wasn't asleep at all. He just goes and grabs her and just blatantly kisses her, and do a little more than kissing. They were just touching each other's tongues, and she's shocked about it, and he goes and just puts her down and is like, has a kind of like a blank, serious look on his face, like, oh, wrong girl. So she's like shocked about what just happened, and then he's like, well, she thinks like, well, he just basically just doesn't forgot just that didn't even happened, and then she knows that he dropped papers on the floor, and his file drawer to his desk is open, and he sees a picture of him, but with supposedly the old girl he was with, takes it out. And it's a picture of him and her, happy together. And she's like thinking, what? What did this happen? She doesn't remember. She goes back to that tea place, asks the bartender. Turns out they were engaged. She was his fiance. They were going to be married. And she doesn't remember any of this. And we see the quick shot of she's sitting at the table, and the whole wide shot of the tea place. And the quick shot of it is a flash. It's like everything is in ruin. So it makes me think, okay. So this whole place, it kind of like made look like it's dystopian future, because like how all the buildings look and how the way it's built and everything. So it makes me wonder: did humanity fell, or did some kind of war or disease happen? And maybe the thing up that's in the sky is probably responsible for it. Or if so, or if not, maybe this whole thing is probably like a simulation. That's why she's the only one who doesn't remember anything. Maybe that's why. Maybe her memories were not fully transferred, and maybe that's why she's not remembering, and that's why he's like bringing up these little things here and there, trying to get her to remember stuff, and so that's what this made me intrigued by. So that's why I made with this mystery. I want to see more. I want to uncover what's going on here. So like I said, I was gonna review Lazarus, which, by the way, great first episode of Lazarus. I may watch it off camera though, but I recommend you go and watch Lazarus, especially the first episode. So, but I'm gonna continue watching it, but even off camera. So, because I was intrigued by this mystery after watching this first episode, so they all cover this instead of that. So. Because I'm intrigued by it. I mean, the characters I like, especially the like I said about the character design of certain characters, right? I like especially the design look of Kajari. I'll eventually get it right. I like her character design, and like the backgrounds and the other animation parts of the show, I thought was looked really good. And the whole mystery, Kudo's like, he basically he does kind of know everything. He's like pretending he doesn't know anything. That's why he's basically dropping maybe a little of these things here and there, but trying to get her to remember. Maybe he purposely left that picture in his drawer for her to see. Or maybe this whole thing is just a simulation that everything. That's why everyone's like, hey, all happy and all that stuff, and I don't know. I mean, that's why I'm basically intrigued by. Or I could be wrong, But I'm interested in how the outcome turns out, though. So Kowloon generic romance. And by the way, the word generic doesn't mean it's like it's typical or bland, all that stuff. No, it's the name is here in the show where they call it where at the beginning of they have these announcers on TV saying, "Hey, generic terror," right? and about the whole thing about humanity, about being immortal and all that stuff, and maybe this whole thing is probably makes you think maybe that thing in the sky is probably the projector or the memories of the people who were there, or I don't know. And maybe her memories did not fully transfer to it, so that's why I'm intrigued by this. So I think I'll cover this show. It looks very interesting to me. So, and as for the first episode, it was very good, you know. So yeah, I may not get to Lazarus though for this channel though, but I will continue watching that off screen though. But like I said, there's several other ones I look interested in, but I'm not doing on camera though. But I think I'll cover this show because at least I'm intrigued by especially how the ending went. So it makes me wonder, like especially that white shot of the tea house in ruin once, and now it's built back the way it was. So what happened? And what about her memory? So she was his fiance. They were engaged to be married. What is going on? Which is going through her head, you know? Or maybe it's kind of like, well, maybe I'm off base though, but it just kind of like the premise is kind of similar. It kind of like reminds of like 50 First Dates with Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore, where her memories like disappear within a day, and that's why the brother and the dad keep on redoing the same thing over and over again, and Adam Sandler's trying to make her remember. So maybe it's kind of feel like in a way similar to that, So, which way I like this, which way I like that movie too. So, but this show, Kowloon in generic romance, intrigued. That's all I'll say. Intrigued. So, but thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode review and more movie reviews, and we'll see you next time. Later.